So real quick, right before starting this video, I just want to give a reminder to subscribe if you haven't yet. We just hit 500 subscribers pretty recently, which was pretty amazing. So now we're going to work towards 600. But I'll make Superman Lois videos every week. I'm absolutely loving the show. I'm also making Flash videos and probably going to be making some Falcon and the Winter Soldier videos when that comes out. And probably going to get back to making Batwoman and Black Lightning shows too. And obviously Supergirl's starting soon, so hopefully videos on that as well. But yeah, another great episode of Superman and Lois in my opinion. This is probably the weakest episode we've had so far, but I still think it was really good, like still very high quality, high caliber in pretty much all the ways possible. This episode was much more character focused than the other two. I feel like the other two were definitely character focused as well, but I feel like this is the first episode with a huge emphasis on only the characters, because even like the Superman stuff, while it definitely wasn't at the forefront in episodes 1 or 2, it still felt like a part of the show. This is the first episode where the Superman stuff, I feel, took a backseat to absolutely every other arc or every other plotline, and I was completely fine with that. I thought it really served the episode well. Like, it was only towards the end of the episode that I realized we haven't actually seen a lot of Superman in this episode. But even the times we did see Superman, they were amazing. One of the first scenes in the episode is where Superman saves a bridge, which that scene was in a couple of the trailers, a couple of the promos, so we've seen bits from that scene a lot. But one thing I didn't realize is that that was also in China, I think they said, so that's another international Superman scene, which is amazing. Pretty much every time we've seen Superman save someone, like, you know, like around the world kind of things, there's been far more international instances of Superman saving somebody than there is of him just in Metropolis or him in Smallville, so I really like that. And the suit looked really good here. I know that one of my only complaints about this suit was that it looked a little bit dark, especially in the night scenes. The suit almost would just blend in with the background, but in this I thought the suit looked fantastic. When he was flying by, the red popped really well, the blue looked a lot brighter than it usually does. And I love that, and Superman just saving somebody, giving the little nod and all that, it was just fantastic. It was probably the best instance that we've seen of Superman saving somebody. Like, yeah, the scene for the pilot where he grabs the car is great because of the suit and all that, but this is probably the best, I think, or my personal favorite, of him saving somebody just with the little wave, with the flying the bridge up, and everybody all, like the guy cheering for him as well. That was so good, and the soundtrack there is spectacular as well. I loved when he was holding up the bridge and he realized he still had paint in his hand, which brings me to the real scenes of the family and the paint and the dinner scenes, and I feel like they're doing an amazing job at making the Kent family feel like a real family. Like, these don't feel like scenes that are scripted, they genuinely feel so real. The way that the characters act together feels like a real family, which I really appreciate that. I want to talk about Jonathan and Jordan real quick, because in this episode, Jordan joined the football team. Now, I actually didn't know this was going to be happening. Maybe this was in some of the trailers or promos. I tend to steer away from the promos between episodes, kind of, just because I like to go into the later episodes as spoiler free as possible. So maybe this was something that they did actually show a couple times, but when Jordan joined the football team, I was completely surprised by that. I didn't expect that at all. And Jonathan was definitely annoyed by this at the start, which made perfect sense to me. You know, football was his thing, and now Jordan was coming on the top of this. But one thing that really surprised me was the fact that by the end of the episode, Jonathan had kind of been like, yeah, okay, I guess Jordan can play football too. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe this is actually good for him. I thought that was really realistic. They could have easily dragged this drama out and made this kind of a drive between the two characters, but instead they use it to bring them together instead. And this is another really good way of just portraying their sibling bond and all of that, which I really appreciate. I also loved how Jordan was just taking down the bullies, and when he had the main bully, I'm not sure if that guy's name is Malcolm. I know when we saw the text message, I didn't know whether that was the bully, you know, the bully, Sarah's ex-boyfriend. But yeah, the fact that, you know, Jordan had him on the ground and put his hand out and said, I'm sorry about what happened, now let's be a team. So that was really good in my opinion. Like, they could have easily went a different way with that, but I feel like that was a good way to portray that this is Superman's son, you know? But it really reminded me of some of the early Smallville scenes with Clark playing football, because I remember there was something like this. There was one episode in season 1 where Clark joined the football team. There were a couple times in season 4 where he would do this, and like Jonathan would be watching on, and Clark would be like proper banging people out of the way, and Jonathan will be looking like with a sign of disapproval. But I feel like that while this was similar to that, they definitely took their own spin on it. And speaking of Clark shows up at the school a bunch of times, and I really dug those scenes. I can understand completely why that made Jonathan and Jordan annoyed, but I felt that really worked. And the drama, again, it didn't get dragged out. It was something they talked about and they fixed, which was great to me. The first scene where Clark goes to the school, I love how he's like, things haven't changed at all, and he's just kind of nodding and waving at the kids. Like, that was really good in my opinion. I want to just move on to the Cushing family and the Sarah and the Lana stuff real quick, because this is the first episode that had a huge focus on them, I felt, which was good. We didn't really know a lot about Lana at this point in the show. Like, we knew about Lana, the character, obviously, but we didn't know much about her life or her home life or anything like that. So this was the first kind of serious look into that, and I think it worked very well. It gave us a reason to care about their characters and to not just see them as part of Smallville. So yeah, she's actually very similar to Smallville Lana, I feel like, because Smallville Lana was like that too, where she was always smiley and happy, and then we'd kind of realize that, oh no, she's got a lot actually going on in her life. So that was good as well. The scene where Lana and Sarah are leaving the diner and Clark's walking in and Clark's like, oh, hi, Lana. And Lana's like, not now, Clark. That really reminded me of kind of, I guess, the Reeve version of Superman, where he would always be like, hi. And then a character would be like, not now. Or I can't talk now. Like, that just really reminded me of that. It reminded me of kind of Lois from the Reeve films. It even reminded me of Lana from the Reeve films almost. But I thought that they handled that really well. But yeah, the drama there is good. It isn't even really drama because it feels realistic in my opinion as well, and I think that they're really working towards making these characters well-rounded, good, and ones that we can root for and understand their motivations for everything. Yeah, but just between the school stuff with Clark and that diner stuff with Clark, we really did get a lot of kind of goofy Christopher Reeve-esque Clark Kent in this episode. There was towards the end where he was like with the water cooler, pretended he was having trouble carrying it, and then when he wanted to sign up for to be the coach in Lois was like, he'll do it for free. All of that was really good as well. I just really like that version of Clark. Like, I like the version where he's the nerdy, goofy Clark, but he's still not a pushover. Like, even as Clark Kent, he's not going to let somebody push him over. I like that a lot. Because the Reeve Superman the Reeve Clark Kent is obviously the iconic version of Clark Kent, but I feel like that version of Clark, he's a little bit too goofy and nerdy. Like, he's a complete pushover in the Clark Kent thing. Obviously, it's a persona, but he will let somebody, when he's Clark Kent, kind of get away with calling him anything. I feel like Tyler's Clark doesn't do that. He'll be goofy, but he still won't let that fly. So I appreciate that. But besides the least use of Superman in this episode, we also had no Luthor and no Sam. So because of that, this episode did feel like somewhat of a departure from the first two, but I still think it worked very well. Plus, we had such a huge revelation with the evil Superman from Luthor's Earth, and also from Sam kind of being against Superman on that Earth, that it makes sense that we would leave those characters for a while. We're probably going to sit on that for a little bit. I'm not entirely sure what the plot of the next episode is, but I would expect that maybe next episode, towards the end of next episode, we'll see Luthor, and after that, then he'll be back kind of in the forefront of the show's story. But Sam, especially the fact that Clark learned out that, Sam's stockpiling kryptonite and all that, I definitely feel that it makes sense now that Clark is kind of taking a step back from all of that. But yeah, but speaking of Lane, I want to talk about Lois, because a big part of this episode was devoted to her looking into Edge and all of that sort of stuff. That was really good as well. I didn't think that stuff was as interesting as what she was doing last episode, probably because she was like directly going up against Morgan Edge last episode. This episode, it was more so just going after the people related to Edge and just kind of doing her investigative journalism sort of stuff. But obviously we found out that Edge is now using a group of villains. I wonder who's on that team. Like, are these villains we know? I'm trying to think if this team is going to be villains we know of, or if this is going to be a group of random villains who have powers, or if these are going to be villains from Superman lore that we know. So that'd be pretty cool if that's the case. Speaking of the meta, that fight scene between Superman and him was really good. I like how Superman kind of, obviously he realized that this guy had super strength and that, and he couldn't just fight him, so he decided to fight smarter and not stronger, which was really good, which made perfect sense. But yeah, it was really good as well, because like, he did kind of get beat at first, but he immediately realized what was going on and realized, okay, so this isn't just a normal person. I don't have to hold back with this. I'll just freeze breath him and then I'll just super speed punch him. So that was a really good showcase and use of Superman's powers, I thought. The soundtrack is something that I've already talked about the soundtrack in all my reviews, but the score, there's something that I meant to talk about in episodes 1 and 2 that I didn't talk about, and that was the score very, very, very oftenly carries over from scene to scene. Now, in all TV shows and movies, like, the score isn't going to just stop as soon as the scene ends. It always, like, the tail end of that score will carry over into the next scene. But something I've noticed is that a lot of the score at times is joining scenes together. Like, it very much carries over from one scene to another, and it doesn't stop until about halfway into the next scene, and that's a really unique thing, and something as well that I feel I can't think of that being in any other shows, but it reminds me of something that you would see on a HBO show, or something you would see on a very kind of prestige show. So because of that, I thought that it works really well, and there's still absolutely no Arrowverse references at all, so I really don't kind of know when we're going to actually get a reference, if we're not going to get any reference at all until the Diggle crossover. But I mean, it's not taking away from the show in my opinion. It's just something I would like, because even though this show is pretty much a soft reboot of the Arrowverse, I would still like them to acknowledge the past shows in some form. But yeah, it was still a great episode. I think it was the weakest of the three, but not even by much. It still worked really well. It gave us a lot of introduction to these characters. It definitely feels like a bridge episode between 2 and 4. 1 and 2 were basically an extended pilot. Now we're just learning more about the characters, and then we're going to get back into the Luthor stuff and into the Morgan Edge stuff. So it was still really good. I really, really enjoyed it. But how did you feel about the episode? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you think the show's working? Do you think the show's not working? And please remember to subscribe so we can hit 600, and please remember to like and share and all of that. And I hope you have an amazing day.